Hey up, how are you doing? It's been a while, eh? Well, as promised, I said I'd try and do another video for the steampunk, steampunk arm bracer that I've been making, and this is it, what I've got up to now. It's mostly made out of EVA foam, with the exception of this little bit of pipe in here, this little bit of pipe in here, and these two plastic discs. This and this piping is basically a bit of sprue from a model kit, and this plastic is, I suppose, like UPVC window material, the same sort of plastic as that, except it was in sheet form. I cut out a couple of discs and I warmed it up slightly and bent it to shape. If you can, I don't know if you can tell, I curved it a little bit anyway. Excuse me. Other than that, to represent rivets, there are googly eyes. Now I wish I'd given this a little bit more thought, because if you can't hear that, it's actually rattling quite a lot. And when I actually put the band brace on my arm, which fits like that, basically, it rattles as I'm moving, but never mind. Okay, so what else have I done? Oh yeah, these patterns that you can see, these swirling patterns, basically all I've done with that is I took a pen and sort of engraved into it. EVA foam moulds and takes shape quite well, and you can put impressions in it and what have you. So what I'm hoping with these patterns eventually is once it's all painted, that strip and that strip, I think I'm gonna try and make it look like leather, the majority of it, and I'm hoping that once it's painted and I put a bit of a black wash on it, sort of dirty it up a bit, the indentations will stand out a little bit more. The first thing I've got to do really is paint it all up with this. Now that is basically Mod Podge and black acrylic paint. The black acrylic paint is just to give it colour, but what the Mod Podge does is seals the foam. Foam's very absorbent, and without sealing it you can keep putting paint on it and paint on it, and it just doesn't really take too well. So I'm just going to sit and paint it up with this, let it dry, and the following step will be to paint it as I want it. So bear with me and I'll get set up for that. Well, I'm no expert at this kind of craft. There are people far better than me and like more knowledgeable than me. I have made a couple of other costume parts out of EVA foam in the past, and I quite enjoy it actually. But as I say, I'm no expert. So as far as I know, there's no real or no particular method to put in this Mod Podge and paint mix onto the foam. It's just literally, as far as I know, paint it on. If you actually want to watch someone who is really good at making costumes, look up a guy called Evil Ted Smith. My understanding is that he has worked in the TV and film industry making props and costumes and what have you, and he does some unbelievable, fantastic work. This van brace here, what I'm making it's really quite basic, but it did. Well, I say it did. It is testing my skills in this area, that's for certain. So as I say, to the best of my knowledge, there's no particular method. Just paint it on. All very boring, I'm sure. I do try and paint it on with an element of neatness and smoothness. Try and get all the paint strokes going the same way. Things like that. I suppose much like decorating. And you sort of eventually get to something like that. So I'll get this painted up, sealed up, and then once it's all sealed up, I'll quickly show you, I suppose. Right, okay, I've got the first coat on. So I've gone from a light grey to black, basically. As you can see, it makes quite a difference. You can see on them plastic discs, it hasn't covered very well. I knew that was going to happen, but it is what it is. Sometimes you can build the layers up and it will eventually cover. Failing that, once I've got it sealed, because I'm going to give this another coat, maybe another 2 coats once this coat's dry, I may hit the plastic bits with a bit of rattle can primer, because you'll also see that the googly eyes have barely covered as well. But as for the EVA foam part of it, it's all covered quite well. It is a little bit patchy, but that's nothing another coat or 2 won't solve. So for the time being, I'm gonna leave that to dry. I'll give it another coat, and I know my lighting ain't brilliant. I'm only sat with the room lights on, but once I give it another coat, I'll come back again and see where we're at. Yeah. Right, so here it is with 2 coats of the primer on it. I call it primer. It's the sealer, just the basically black acrylic paint in the Mod Podge. My next step really is to start painting the individual parts. So I'm thinking there's going to be bits of copper, gold, maybe brown on the main body part, you know, to maybe simulate leather if possible. Maybe silver for the googly eyes that represent rivets. Something like that. Not 100% sure yet, but I'll work it out, I'm sure. Now, I suppose if you was to ask me what are all the bits on it, like this pipe or this cylinder, basically, I don't know, nothing. It's just how I made it to look. I suppose you could imagine that it's a bionic arm or something like that, and this is helping to move your hand or whatever. So basically what it is, I put it on, you put it on like that, fasten the zip. That's a bit awkward, but it's manageable. So, and it sits on your arm like this, and I've got full movement, you know, it's not even tight, I can put a finger in there. So what I'm hoping to do as well, if I have time, is to do a hand, which will basically be a thin work glove or a gardening glove or something like that, and I'll embellish it with bits like what are on this already, you know, and hopefully it'll look like one piece, you know, one full arm piece, but they will be separate. So maybe, as I was saying, it'll be almost like a bionic arm, you might say, and these are pipes and tubes and what have you, helping to, you know, make the arm work. So that's where I'm at the minute. So I suppose the next thing I've got to do is absolutely be certain on what paints I want to use, what colours, and just spend a bit of time painting it, really. So I'm thinking the next clip you're going to see is me doing that. Right, so for this I'm just using cheap acrylic paints. I don't know if it's going to work or not, or if they'll be any good for this application, but we'll soon see. The lighting in here is terrible. 1 minute. So yeah, I'm just using cheap, really cheap acrylic craft paints. See how we get on, I suppose. Well, it's going on. I don't know how well you can tell on camera, but it's going on. It's probably going to take a few coats, but be all right, I suppose, in the end. This is one of the reasons you put the Mod Podge onto it, because if you are using cheaper craft paints, the foam would just absolutely soak up the paint, and I don't think you'd ever get it covered, really, not to any decent standard anyway. Well, I'll just plod on with it and see how it goes, really. So I'm probably going to fast forward this bit of the video because this is going to take a while. And I ain't really got a lot to say. It's painting, what can I tell you? So while I'm doing this, if you want to ask me anything about anything, feel free, send me a message, leave a comment, whatever you want. I am curious to know though, do any of my followers or subscribers, whatever you like to be called these days, do any of you make anything like this? Is it something you'd be interested in trying? Have you done it before? Or are you just basically watching the video to see what the hell I'm on about? Also, if you're curious as to where I've been or why I haven't been uploading, again, drop me a message. Don't mind people asking me questions. I like the interaction, so yeah, anything you want, really. Right, so that's the first coat of brown on it. I've got to apologise. I'm really shit at lighting and camera work. I don't actually have any lights. I'm filming on my phone as always. I'm using my living room lights, and there's a shit backlight behind me there. So I'm sort of fighting myself here, but there you go. I suppose you can just about see the difference between the black, the bit that's still black, and the bit that's now painted with one coat of the brown. What brown is it? Burnt umber. And as strange as it might sound, even though it's only one coat, I'm actually quite happy with that. It does kind of have a bit of a old-ish leathery look. There's not much of it to see around that side. It's a lot fuller, but it is there. I think there's a couple of areas where I need to go over it again. Yeah, I'm definitely going to let this dry and give it another coat, but this is where it starts, I suppose. Right, so that's it painted with a couple of quick coats of the burnt umber. Yeah, you can tell the difference a bit better here than you can on camera, but it's not quite showing up as much as I want it to, so I'm gonna go over it again, and hopefully the layers will build up and it'll look better. So let's have a go at that. Again, I'm probably just going to fast forward through it. You're not really missing anything. I mean, as you can see, when it's wet, you do see it a lot better, but as it's drying, it's dulling down like acrylics do, I suppose. So that's another coat of the brown on. I mean, when it's wet, it looks fine. It looks just how I wanted it to look. You know, you can, even on camera, I think you can definitely see a difference between how it was as black to the brown. All I can do really is let it dry and see how it goes. I suppose on this side it won't matter so much because there isn't as much as the brown area showing, but on that side, which is basically the back of my arm, you'll see it more. But I'll let it dry and see how it goes. As I say, they are very cheap, very thin craft paints. These are fine, you know, like if I'm making a diorama or a model kit with a base and I want to paint a bit of groundwork, a bit of terrain. They're great for things like that, but not so much, it seems, up to now for this. However, I'm fairly confident that if it continues to dry a bit duller, eventually it will pick up a bit and produce better colours. Failing that, I'll nip out to Hobbycraft or wherever and see if I can find a bit of a better quality burnt umber. So give it a bit of time to dry and I'll show you how it turns out. Right, so I've got the brown painted and I'm not entirely sure if I'm happy with it. A lot of it depends on what light you're seeing it in as to how well it shows up. But what I've decided to do is leave it as it is for now, and I'm going to get the other colours put onto it. I'm kind of thinking maybe once the other colours are on, the brown might show up a little bit more. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to work on the brass, copper, gold parts, and for that because there's a few little fiddly areas that I need to do, I've actually just picked up some marker pens, Sharpies. I've done this before. From what I can remember, it actually worked quite well. They work quite well for this application, so I'm going to get on with that. This is going to take me ages, so I'll just get on with it. I'll have a fast forward through it, or I'll come back when I've got a bit done and show you as it's going. So, right, crack on. Right, so I've just got these two discs done. Now, if you ignore the fact that the googly eyes or the rivets are still black, I've just been looking at the discs which I've coloured in with this gold Sharpie, and if you look really close, it's a bit tatty, but I quite like that because it makes it look a bit grungy and a bit dirty and, you know, a bit weathered. So I've done a bit of a Bob Ross and had a little bit of an happy accident there. So I just wanted to jump in and show you that bit, but I'm going to crack on and I'll get back in a bit to show you a bit more. Alright, so I've got the areas I wanted doing with the gold done, and yeah, it's looking a bit scruffy, but in the end I think that's actually going to work out well. It's going to look like it's a bit patinaed, a bit weathered, or that's what I'm thinking anyway. So next thing I'm going to do is jump into, again with the Sharpies, using the silver and the bronze or copper for other areas. I'm really not looking forward to doing these rivets, but there you go, what can you do? Right, okay, so here's where I'm at up to now. That's taken quite a bit of doing, if I'm honest, but I am actually relatively happy with it. Now what I've got to do next is take the silver marker, silver Sharpie, and do all these rivets. I'm really not looking forward to this bit. I don't know how many there is, but there's a lot, and it's a pain in the ass, but I think it's gonna, well, they need doing somehow, and I think it's gonna really help. So I'm gonna spend a bit of time doing that, and I'll come back to you again and show you, I suppose. Right, so that's all the rivets sort of coloured in, I guess. It wasn't actually that bad in the end. It didn't take too long. I don't know if you're going to be able to tell, but I haven't actually been that precise with it anyway. I think leaving them little bits of black showing around and a little bit of rough, it just shows a bit of wear and tear, a bit of patina, a bit of grime. But yeah, I'm actually quite happy with this project up to now. All I've really got to do now is paint the banding here and here, but I think my back is killing, so I'm going to have a cup of coffee and chill out for a minute. I'll be back in a bit. Right, so I've got one last bit to do, and that is to paint the bandings. The colour I've chosen to do it, just to add a bit of a pop of colour, is this Express colour from Vallejo, Rojo Plasma plasma red, whatever. I'm reading a foreign language there, idiot. Right, plasma red. I've never actually used these express colours before, so I have no idea what they're going to be like. Only one way to find out, I guess. Let's have a go. They do seem quite thin, I must admit. Yeah, I think this is going to take a few colours. A few coats. But I'll get a coat on. I'll let it dry. See how it looks. That's all I can do, eh? Okay, so I've got the first coat on. I'm beginning to feel like the express colour paint is just like a speed paint or a wash or something. It's only one coat on it, but it's piss thin. So I actually don't half mind how it looks, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it dry off and give it another coat and see how it goes. Unfortunately, the light on the light in this room it doesn't show things up very well on the camera, but I don't know, maybe I'll try and include some photographs at the end to give better images and what have you. But as I say, I'll leave that to dry and give it another coat, see how it looks. Right, okay, I've got the red painted on, as you can see. It, it is still wet, so I'm holding it carefully. Now, that red hasn't come out how I initially wanted it to, but after I think 3 coats, I actually quite like how it looks, because you can still kind of see the black through it a little bit. So again, it's adding to that worn and faded, weathered look, maybe. I don't know, I think so anyway. Anyway, I'm going to leave that to dry, and then I'll see if I can get some better photographs of it to add on to the end of this video for you to see things better. I'll probably post some on my Instagram too. So I suppose all there's left to say is sorry it's been so long. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I don't know when I'll upload again. I am hoping to do a glove or hand for this. Whether I'll have time to do it and film, I don't know. But for those of you who come back and watch, I appreciate it. I've enjoyed making this item and I've enjoyed filming it. And I know this video is a lot of talking, but mute it, it's fine. So that's it really. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll upload again soon. Cheers, bye.